Hi, I'm Ian McKinley. Thanks for coming to Tenderhoof Solutions. The video we're going to show now is our final process for glue-on shoes. We've tried floating heels, but what we found out was actually when the heels are supported and more restricted, they seem to do much better. And we've tried these on standardbreds, thoroughbreds, jumping horses, quarter horses. Across the board, this is what I've got the best results with. It's literally the only shoes I've glued on in the last 6 months. So anyway, watch the film and enjoy. The way that we finally arrived at our glue-on shoe, it's an adaptation of our original nail-on shoe. Now, this shoe, you see two different colors. The black would be a 50 durometer and the red would be 80. Now, if you're wondering what durometer is, natural rubber would be around 45 and a bowling ball would be 100. Now, we keep the red in a nail-on shoe because you don't want there any movement where the nail holes are. So they hold on very well when you have a firmer pad up in the nailing area. The transition over to a glue-on shoe, we just remove the inside part of the pad, and that just makes a channel so we can put a piece of black butyl tape inside. Now, the black butyl tape is very soft and stays soft throughout the duration of the shoe being on the horse's foot. It'll give a little bit of sole support, but certainly won't put any pressure in the sole. Now, this is a glue-on shoe that came off before the glue had really adhered to the foot. The horse they get a little active sometimes, and he put his foot down, he slid forward out of it. But it works out great for showing people how the glue is built up around the heel area. We can pull them back under. If you were looking, if you can picture a horse's foot sitting inside there, being my thumb if that was a hoof wall, it's just like a cradle or a saddle for that hoof capsule to sit on. But this shows how much these pads will move sideways, and this will show how much concussion they can absorb. And that's the beauty of it. It allows these feet to expand sideways, and you have something there to absorb concussion. And everything has worked out very well. Now, the one thing that we found when we took that channel out back deep into the heel area, it just allowed that rubber to have to work that much more. So it absorbs much more concussion than I ever thought. And that's why we get away with getting them way back underneath the bulbs to support the bulbs. When we talk about supporting bulbs, you'll see some pictures coming. And as you see, that is a lot of movement. I don't think there's any way a horse's foot expands that much, but it certainly shows that shoe will allow it to do that. This is a very typical case that I'll see in the thoroughbred world. You can see it's at the end of the shoeing cycle, so as that foot grows out and forward, it pulls the shoe off from underneath the bulbs and any kind of support. So it really amplifies what's going on, and they just basically collapse down. And our main goal is just to trim this toe back as far as we can, and that'll help us with our angle. I'm not concerned about thinning out the sole because with this glue-on system, there's really no sole pressure on it. Now we just want to get our shoe back under the bulb, and that's very easily done. You'll see when I set that shoe, I basically want to thicken them through the quarters and just build them an artificial hoof capsule back underneath the bulbs. Now, this is just a picture of that same horse. We put some lines on. The yellow is overall length of the foot. The red shows where the center of the shoe is. You can see it's way in front of the cornet band. The green is cornet band, the angle of that, and the other was the angle of the face of the foot. And now after, you can see we've shortened the length of the foot. Overall length is cut back maybe 5/8 of an inch. The big thing is the center of the shoe is behind the cornet band as before it was in front, and you can see how far back we've brought that shoe under the bulb. And basically we're just trying to get this horse so he can break over more easily, and that's just helps him with his performance. And obviously the softness of the shoe helps for concussion. Once you have your shoe shaped, the next thing you do is you clean up your hoof capsule. I'll use a carbide burr on a hand grinder. That grinder runs around 25,000 RPM. A very good tool because it'll take off just a thin layer of the wall, just so you have great adhesion. Once you get your sidewalls done, your quarters, then you go to the bottom of the foot, get it real well back in the heel, and you clean up the bottom of the foot. You'll need wall, some amount of wall up through the toe area, because glue will only stick to the hoof wall. It really doesn't stick to the sole. And the next thing you do is you'll put a nice clean wrap on. We use a little rubber rag towel, terry cloth towel. I have a homemade wrap I have. And basically all this does is keeps the foot clean and dry and just ready to go, easy access when we're ready to put the shoe on. And you basically just put his foot down and he's waiting for his new shoes. Now the next thing you'll have to do is clean up your shoe. I use a bench grinder with a wire wheel. Basically you can see how as that wire hits the urethane, it'll just scruff it up a little bit. It'll look like suede. And that's all you need for excellent adhesion. I don't use any solvents at all when I glue shoes on. I don't think they're necessary. Some people even think it's detrimental using acetone and stuff. The next thing I do is put in the butyl tape. Now this is it's nice and flat. It's exact same height as the pad, so it just sits into that trough we've made. And basically that is what will be on the sole of the horse's foot. And it'll stay in there for the duration of the shoeing period. Any excess, you just cut it off. And basically that shoe's ready now to be set up with glue. Now we like this type of glue system. It's a 2-part pack. We can heat it up, cool it off, depending on the temperature outside. Use half a pack if we want. Once we mix it thoroughly with a knife, it'll all become a uniform in color. I'll take half of it, load up my knife blade, and just put a bead around the outside edge of the shoe. If you have any holes that have been ground out, the excess glue will just fill in there and make a perfect fit. Now I'll take the rest of the glue, split it in half, and put it back at the heels of the shoe. Because I'm building a wall, I'm making a thicker wall and just supporting that whole heel area. Now I just pick my horse's foot up right out of that wrap and set the shoe on. Set it dead center to the toe. Just flip it down. Now you look at your heel of the shoe and set it according to the frog. Take it back to the widest part of the frog, and you want just a perfect angle coming down off them bulbs. You wouldn't want to take it back too far because you can get a little too much pressure in the heel area. That was one of the problems with the old style glue-ons without some type of system to absorb concussion. It was just too hard and they'd get sore up in the bulbs of the heels. And as you've seen from the video before, just how much concussion these will absorb. The next thing you'll do is you just take that knife blade and you make sure all the glue's removed out from off the sole. You can see how the black butyl tape's exposed there, and there's literally nothing back in the heel area. You can see the white line hook right around in the bar area there, and there's virtually nothing hard in the sole of this horse's foot. Now I've used a few different cases here on this video just because some look better. It's not the easiest thing to be gluing on shoes and taking videos and all the rest of it. One of the good things about glue-ons is if you have flares, you can always set that shoe, as long as you have some wall exposed, even with the flare, you'll trim it back with a grinder. There'll be other cases coming up, individual cases where you see how we're getting rid of flares. But that wall will be locked onto that shoe so it can't flare out anymore. And it wouldn't matter how wet it gets or how soft you keep the horse's foot, because it's locked onto the horseshoe to just grow down in a straight